この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Vinland Saga episode 16. Last week on Vinland Saga, we had, for the second time in this entire story, a major time, we had another father figure come down with a bad case of spear to the rear of the abdomen, which is not conducive to a long and healthy life being a father figure to a young prince who has had his own father turned against him. Ashlad did some scheming and some plotting, got some dudes out in the woods, and lured Ragnar out there, and has executed him, and it was kind of sad. Just as we were sort of getting to know Ragnar and getting a feel for who he is as a character and his actual motivations, he is gone. Bye-bye. Also for the second time, and this sort of made me realize something that I hadn't picked up on until now, which is that there's a bit of a thematic through line here. This is the second major character in the series who has had their father figure, or father, killed by Ashlad, and then have him sort of take them into service, or otherwise try to use them toward his own goals. Yeah, it gives me some interesting vibes here. Ashlad really likes killing dads. He really likes killing dads, and this sort of makes sense for him as a character because, as far as we know from his history, his mother Lydia was taken away by Danes and by his father, and he is not a big fan of his father or the people that took him. And yeah, it's kind of weird. Seems like he's getting some weird twisted retribution for that in some way. Maybe not, maybe, I don't know. I just had this thought as I was thinking about how I wanted to start talking about this episode as we move into it, and realized oh yeah, Ashlad's got a tough relationship with his own father, and now he's gone and killed Thorfinn's father, and now he's gone and killed Canut's closest thing he has to a father figure, and is just attempted to he's gathering children, just gathering them up and using them to his own ends. So, interested to see whether Canute and Thorfinn will actually end up bonding over this experience in any way. It could be a really good opportunity for them to actually get to know each other on a level that's a little bit more than just a scoff and a smirk from Thorfinn towards Canute, and a sort of a whimper and a hide from Canute. Especially given that last episode we had them sort of have a meeting and figure out about cooking and have a meal together and things like that. It seems like it might be a way to make some inroads relationship-wise between them. Not like relationship, but just like becoming not totally enemies against each other. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. I don't know. We'll see. Very interested in seeing if anything happens on that line of thought, and very interested in seeing how Canute reacts to the news that Ragnar is dead. Because we've been talking for the last couple episodes about Canute's potential self-actualization and potential becoming more of a leader than he currently is. And it'll be interesting to see how this important death of an important character to him, causes him to react, and whether he buys into Ashlad's bullshit with high charisma and high persuasion, his bullshit, which I assume is going to be something along the lines of, oh, Ragnar went out valiantly fighting the English, and you should probably hate the English because they killed your daddy. We'll see. We will definitely find out something along some of those lines at some point. There's also a bunch of stuff like bad things converging on their current location. Thorkil is aware of their presence. Svein seems to be sending sending Floki and his men out in that direction as well. It seems like there might be some kind of convergence of big armies onto this little band of travelers and Vikings that are currently just chilling in a town and have just fought some English and, I don't know, killed Ragnar. So, lots of things happened last episode. I figure it's about time for an aftermath episode with a build up towards, I don't know, Thorkil inbound, and maybe a build toward a second Thorfinn versus Thorkil duel type situation. Seems like where we're heading. Interested to see all of these things. Let's go ahead and jump on into the episode to see if I'm totally off base on everything, which is entirely likely. So, I've got episode 16 of Vinland Saga up and ready to go. It is at 0 seconds. There will be 2 versions of this reaction video. You can find a picture-in-picture version with the video up there in the description, and a timer-based version up on YouTube. If you want to sync up your own copy of the episode with the timer-based version up on YouTube, you are more than welcome to do so. Just get your copy ready because the beep beep timer to count you down will be coming at you right about now. Ah, fade. Mouse, go away. Thank you. That was a long blackness. Oh, hello, owl. Ah! Ugh. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's nice. Owls are so cute. Oh, that guy doesn't have a head. Wow. Yeah. And I assume that black cloak is... died valiantly in combat. Mm-hmm. Ah, tragic. How tragic. So sincere. Yes. Yeah, just a few minutes before. Yep. And then he's gone. Yeah, you don't have a lot of life experience with, death, do you, Canute? Good. You've been given the order, buddy. Well, that was right on the money. What worries me is that Canute, like, is not used to schemers, I don't think. Well, he grew up among schemers, though. I don't think he'll see through it. God, I fucking love Men with a Mission. And I assume this is what we're heading toward. He's got harder eyes when he's flipping that cloak. I don't know. All right. Ooh, that's pretty. History of Beasts. Maybe. Hmm. Because you win. Hmm. Hmm. Turn him over to his father. Hmm. Cruel as fuck. J transition? Where's the priest? Uh-huh. Hmm. Uh-oh. There are a lot of things you can do with shears. History of beasts. We'll see. Why do I feel like he's gonna cut his dick off? Nope, fingers. Okay. Yep, that's nice and painful. Oh, jeez. Here we go. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah. Faith. Just the dirt in the nope. Ah. And here it is. There's the title drop. Eh. No, it did not. And up north. Took. God, his voice actor is so good. Ah, I was thinking that's where we were going with this. God. Ah. What's up, ear? Thorkil? Ah, he already knows. Not quite. Not quite. I love this track. Y'all should run. Y'all should fucking run. The fear spreads. Uh-huh. Oh boy. Of course. Of course. He's mine. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, Jesus. Yep. Ragnar's a corpse. We had what? 2 sleds? 3. Okay. I said, bitch. Who's your daddy? Sorry. I'm not, but I am. Yeah. Baka. So many close-ups of Ashalad's eyes. Cold. Back to luck. And now he must rule by fear and contradict his own lines to Bjorn at the beginning. Oh. He's not gonna contradict himself. Character consistency is the best. Walk if you choose to follow. This is a death march. Yeah. They're better supplied. Bigger force. This is a death march. Oh. Oh, that seems like Thorkil's, yep. Yep. Turn on him, you might turn on, oh my god. Did his axes get longer? Yes, they are. You are on their tail. Two different sides of the pragmatic, cruel alignment. Oh, the brothers. Chop, 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 chop. Ugh. Shit, out of wine. Man, it's gonna start fiending. Wine. He's gonna start freaking out. Not immediately, but... Oh, hi, Canute. A little bit of hardness to those eyes, eh? Yeah. Bridge doesn't matter, yeah. They're turning. Hmm. Splitting. The bros. That's why he wants Bjorn and Thorfinn on it. Now he's making another. Doubling down. And the bridge falls. Then you're fucked. Alright, fair enough. Blades. Spear tips. Yup. Oh, oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, but yeah, but we're fucked. The turn. There's no guarantee that if you turn to Thorkil, he won't just kill you. In fact, that's almost guaranteed that he will just kill you. Okay. The turn. So that scene we see of him kicking up snow with his blade in the OP, it's against them, isn't it? His own men. So, Bjorn, Canute, Thorfinn, and the priest. Are they gonna book it? Hi, Thorkil. You are a scary man. Ugh. Okay. CT is so damn good. I just hit a button and caused a thing to happen. Okay. Whoops. Alright, that's fine. We were right at the end anyway. So, and there's nothing at the end, right? No, just that and then end. Okay. I don't actually know what button I hit. I wish I did, because it seemed to go to the next video in the folder. Okay. Cool. Oh, this was an interesting episode. Interesting in a couple of ways. Production was kind of all over the place in this episode. There were certain scenes that really sort of carried the flow, and in fact, I would say that the flow of the episode carried some of the more lackluster production, because there were some scenes that were kind of stiff, but some fantastic performances by the VAs, especially by Ashalad. It's really interesting to see when he really shows off his chops. It's just kind of amazing how much emotion he can put into every word in a phrase and make you think one thing as he begins the phrase and another about his character as he ends it. Oh, it's interesting. A lot of cruelty, a lot of brutality in this episode, and a couple of very, very good looking, very interesting cuts. All right, where do I want to start with this? I want to start with Lawnmower Thorkil round 2. Yeah, here. Specifically this scene where he's just walking forward and eyes blank, just sort of, just like a dance, just no resistance, just carving through everything and just people exploding into horrifying gore. Uh, that's just amazing. And in a way, what we have here is a setup of like, and I said it during the reaction, but we have two flip sides of brutal, cruel pragmatism. One being Ashalad's, the other being Thorkil. Thorkil being a little bit simpler in his cruel pragmatism, but still very much in the same vein of like, I don't need you. You can turn and try to join me, but I'm just gonna kill you and we can take your swords and stuff, and that's enough for us. Oh boy. Um, Thorkil here being, I don't know, like I wouldn't call him a villain. In fact, I don't think I would call anybody so far a villain except Svein, who's been built up in the background as something of a villain. But Ashalad is definitely not good aligned, let's say, and neither is Thorkil, and neither is pretty much anyone we've met except for Tors. Tors is like lawful good hardline. Maybe not lawful, but good, for sure. Everyone else, these are horrible murderer people. Also totally willing to torture people and take glee in it. Yeah. All right, so we open with the reaction from Canute toward the death of Ragnar, and it's, I think, really well portrayed. The that's weird. We were just a moment ago we were having stew and being happy, and death like that. We don't really know how familiar Canute is with death. We know that he grew up in a home where death was frequent and betrayal was common, but we haven't really seen any of that because he was sheltered by Ragnar. We'll see. Definitely a little bit of hardness creeping into Canute's eyes in a couple of shots in this episode as it sort of sinks in. Although I may just be misinterpreting shock. Either is totally fair and understandable. The other thing in this episode was there was a good bit of like under your skin body horror in the episode, almost JoJo-esque in its like portrayal of corpses or people being mutilated in painful ways. And I want to point out, like, okay, we start with that, with the brutality of nature, and then we use the owl later to as Ashalad is talking about the Danes coming in with greater violence. We then cut back to the owl pulling out the eye, and I don't know, it just gives me a scavenger or carrion eater vibe that's being associated with the Danes as he's talking through this. But just brutality and horror from the beginning of this episode to the end. One sequence that I think was just sort of masterfully executed was the torture sequence. Horrible, sure. Painful to watch, absolutely. But also deeply tense because we don't quite know what he's gonna do with the shears. And that's what's so great here, I think. It's like a bomb under the table tension. Who, famous filmmaker, who, bomb under table tension. It starts with an O. No, it doesn't. It starts with a Hitchcock. I'm an idiot. For some reason I was thinking Oppenheimer. Don't ask me why, but I was thinking Oppenheimer. I think because of the whole bomb thing. It's a classic quote by him. Actually, let's see. The lesson of the bomb under the table, or the bomb theory. Da 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 da. There's a distinct difference between surprise and suspense, and yet many pictures, movies, continually confuse the two. I'll explain what I mean. We are now having a very innocent little chat. Let's suppose there is a bomb underneath this table between us. Nothing happens, then all of a sudden, boom, there is an explosion. The public is surprised, but prior to this surprise, it has seen an absolutely ordinary scene of no special consequence. Now, let us take a suspense situation. The bomb is underneath the table and the public knows it, probably because they have seen the anarchist place it there. The public is aware that the bomb is going to explode at 1 o'clock, and there is a clock in the decor. The public can see that it is a quarter to 1. In these same conditions, or in these different conditions, the same innocuous conversation becomes fascinating because the public is participating in the scene. The audience is longing to warn the characters on the screen. You shouldn't be talking about such trivial matters. There is a bomb beneath you, and it's about to explode. In the first case, we have given the public 15 seconds of surprise at the moment of the explosion. In the second, we have provided them with 15 minutes of suspense. The conclusion is that whenever possible, the public must be informed, except when the surprise is a twist, that is, when the unexpected ending is, in itself, the highlight of the story. The reason that I think about this is because of the Shears. We know that pain is inbound toward this poor English soul who's on the ground being kicked to living shit. He's already experienced a lot of pain. But what we get in the few-minute interim between Askeladd asking some random Dane to go and get him a pair of shears and the moment he actually starts to use them is our imaginations can run wild with what is he going to do with the shears. Now, it's obvious he's going to use them as a torture implement, and my mind jumps in a couple of places. It immediately jumped to nose and ears, partly because of the imagery of the owl that we got before, and then it jumped to cutting his dick off, because they're cruel fucking Danes, and they might think that was funny. Instead, it was the other classic, just cut your fingers off bit by bit, which is also nice and painful, but how much more tension is there in this scene simply because Askeladd asks to go and get the shears, plants that idea in our mind, the bomb under the table, and then it takes a couple minutes of him talking to this Englishman and those around him before the bomb goes off and he actually snips his fingers. And even then, it's gruesome and horrible, especially the scene where he digs his bloody stumps of his fingers into the ground and drags them across, leaving trails of blood. You can just feel the grit digging into your exposed flesh. Like, that's visceral. That's ugh, but fantastic in the same way because it makes you feel it. It conveys that feeling to the audience. But what I'm super interested in is instead the interim here. When does he ask for the shears? Okay, he asks back. I just want to know how much time it is. Can I get subtitles, please? Go ahead and kill me. The Lord sees everything. Sees all the evil things you Danes have done. There. Okay. Go ahead and kill me. He still has some fight in him. Do you have any shears? 557. Shears delivery and chop. 657. Just a minute. Just a minute, but if he had just grabbed the shears and gone to town, that minute wouldn't have been as tense. Wouldn't have been as horrible as he's yelling incoherently. And then we get to the snipping. It is horrifying and it is bloody. And Askeladd sort of nonchalant going through it. Oh man, I cut him too short. What a shame. I guess I'll have to try again. Snip. It's so visceral and awful. So that's one highlight. And then giving him a history lesson, and more to the point, giving us a history lesson and a feel for Askeladd's knowledge of the history of the land. And then we get this imagery of the owl once again. Even greater violence. Yeah. Scavenging. Savages. And some of these cuts are just fantastic. This close-up on the cracked lips and the bloodied, multiple times broken nose. And, there's a lot of great detail there. And then there are also scenes like this that are kind of slideshowy and far away and almost David Productions-esque. And then we get real close to the nose, and that's real nice and creepy, and oh, God. Ugh. All right. And then we have this moment and the moment before it. We have sort of two moments to talk about here because they link together. One is the conversation with Bjorn. As Bjorn points out that, hey, maybe you might have fucked up here. Like, what if this doesn't help turn Canute into a great person? Maybe we should just use him as a weakling. And I choose my own lord. My lord must be the type of man that makes me want to serve him. And then, haha, just joking, but I don't get the feeling that he's actually joking here. I do get the feeling that he's making a gamble. In fact, that he's doubling down, knowing that he's down. Okay, so there's that conversation, following your own lord. And then here, once we get here, yeah, and the fear begins to spread amongst his men. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? We only have 3 sleds. Right. These two. The ones who are turning against him. I fully expected Ashalad to contradict himself and try to use force to make his men afraid of him, to follow him in that way. Just because that is what characters put up against a wall in this sort of a situation traditionally do. And he subverts my expectation, unfounded, honestly, but I thought he was going to contradict himself. I thought he was going to try to scare them into continuing to follow, or to kill those he knows are deserters so that there's one or two less deserters and other people see that example. And instead, as they cower, expecting that same blow to come, I don't care. Follow whoever you want. He remains consistent as a character. If you're gonna leave, leave. If you're coming with me, better start walking. And Bjorn just picks up his satchel, and off they go. That was an awesome moment. That was an amazing moment. Not because it makes me like Ashalad in any way, but because he remained consistent and isn't forcing his men to do something that he wouldn't, to follow a leader that they don't believe in. That's really interesting. Really interesting. Even when the chips are down and he is definitely backed into a corner, and yes, Thorkil has him by the tail. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's writing. Also, shout out to the fantastically horrifying Thorkil faces. He is just sort of a wave of destruction on legs. And then we get some more of that here as he becomes a whirlwind of death and doom on legs. Again, some slideshowy shots, old CG models, just a still frame so they're not moving. Alright, sure. It's up and down in production throughout the episode. As usual, though, the backgrounds carry it. The voice acting performances carry it. The music and soundtrack and score carries it. All right, Priesty Boy is running out of booze. That's a bit of a problem for him. We'll see how that goes. And then we get this one shot of Canute with shaded eyes. And then through our brothers, we have the descent building. And we see a bit of a slideshow, as Ashalad is aware of it, of people talking, chatting amongst themselves, and turning against him. And he knows that there are traitors here. He knows that something is coming. Wonder if we'll get a brother versus brother situation going on. I would assume so. All right, and then there's just one more thing that I want to look at, which is this cut right here. Actually, even before that, the glimmers of light on the top of the ridge, excellent. I can see that as a manga panel. And that, oh, he is so big and so scary. And then there's this cut, which is pretty fucking awesome. Just gotta admit, it's pretty fucking awesome. And then Mitsuke. It has always been one of my favorite lines in anime is "I found you, Mitsuke." It fits works so well. And hearing Thorkil scream it from across this ridge, and then fling a gigantic javelin. It's a pike. Just fling a pike. And just those two guys are gone. Poof. Poof. One of them, I believe one of their heads got knocked. Yep, one of their heads got knocked off by it. Fantasy? Sure. Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of absurd. I mean, just given the arc that such a weapon would take, it's a little absurd. Does it matter? No. No, it doesn't fucking matter. That's awesome. And horrifying. And the turn occurs. Just bear with it for one more day. Ah, we'll see. And they surround him. They surround all of them. So, I have to imagine that there's this one cut in the OP of dabba 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 dibba dabba dibba doo. I think it's right after this chunk of fighting. Yep. We don't see any faces, do we? None that are instantly recognizable to us. But I have to guess that scene of Ashalad fighting in the snow surrounded by enemies is him surrounded by former friends. This may be the end for him. It may very well be the end for him. I don't see a route out for him, and I don't think he sees one either. It's a hell of a cliffhanger. We got Thorkil's forces encroaching from one direction. Ashalad, Canute, Thorfinn, the priest, and Bjorn surrounded by their own men who are turning. It's a bad situation for every character that we know, except for Thorkil. Thorkil's having a great time. He's just grinning like an idiot. Not an idiot, but he's grinning like one. Oh man, this was a cool episode. Again, up and down in production, but the highs totally outweigh any lows that were in here. The sheer brutality, the wonderful suspense, the great soundtrack, some really great voice lines from Ashalad, the fact that he remained internally consistent as a character. I love all these things. I like them a lot. So all in all, this was a pretty great episode, and I liked it a lot, and I look forward seriously to the next one to see how this actually plays out. Because it's not looking good. It's looking interesting, though. In any case, I think that's about it for me to talk about. So, I've been Teeaboo. This has been Vinland Saga episode 16. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I hope to catch you next week in the next one. It is next week, right? I saw somebody mention something about, like, there being a break. I hope there isn't a break, but regardless, in a week or two, I will see you for the next one. Peace.